Good morning. Ms. Jennifer asked if the young Dharma school students could be dismissed before the Dharma message. So we'll take a moment as they go downstairs for their class. And anyone else who wants to stay in the Dharma school is welcome to. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Please join me in Gassho as we share a quote from Shinran Shonin. What a joy it is that I place my mind on the soil of the primal vow, and I let my thoughts flow into the sea of the inconceivable Dharma. Namu Amida Butsu. As many of you know, my passion and work focus on trees and nature. So while I'm out looking at trees in my daily work, I have many chances to observe nature. And when we observe nature, we see her wisdom. Everything in nature is interconnected. There is a web of life in all living beings, especially plants, animals, and people. We rely on each other, and in turn, we rely on the earth to provide, nourish, and care for each other. Trees are good examples of the web of life. Often, trees are the tallest and oldest beings that we encounter as we take a walk. Some trees have lived for decades, others for hundreds of years. And some trees are small and may have been planted by someone with hope for the future. It may appear that trees are alone because we see them planted along the streets and parkways that way. But trees are like people. They do best when they're among fellow trees and their kin. And that is why forests are so healthy. Trees can live a long time in forests and woods. They are among their fellow trees and other plants. Trees like being in community. Did you know that trees can communicate with each other? Yes, they can. Peter Wolleben, a longtime forester, writes in his book, The Hidden Life of Trees, that he has researched and proven that trees do communicate. He writes that when trees are under attack by pests, they send signals out by way of their leaves. Trees emit a volatile chemical called a phytoncide. Phytoncides ward off the pest and send distress calls to fellow trees. This distress call lets the other trees know to gear up their defenses and send the same signal to the trees around them. These phytoncides make the tree less vulnerable because the leaves become bad tasting and they are less likely to be eaten. Much like us, we take care of each other. There's safety in numbers. When we look out for each other, we do much better. We can ward off danger just like nature intends. When there's a neighborhood watch program in place, the neighborhood is much safer because everyone's looking out for each other. Nature reveals to us the law of interdependence. We need each other to survive and thrive in this world. Trees also take care of their young and new growth trees. When an older tree dies, it appears that it's fallen or removed, but there is a root system that stays underground and is vast and spreads for many, many feet and miles around. And these roots promote the growth of new trees. They provide for the young trees nutrition that they could not get as the young trees grow into the roots. The old tree is not visible to us, but the long-established roots continue to provide. And this is also like our ancestors. they may have left this world of form through death, yet they continue to nourish us. We remember their stories and their teachings and traditions and their love. Their roots provide for us. We stand on their roots, which continue to nourish, guide, and teach us. When a tree is damaged, it weeps or sends fluids out of its bark, and these fluids form callus wood over the injury. Sometimes these callus form burls or these big, large bumps on the bark of a tree. I'm sure you've seen them. These burls actually make the wood more valuable. Lumber people will tell you that if they can get a tree that has a burl in it, it's very valuable. And this is just like us. We may be injured physically or mentally, and we form calluses and burls too. Sometimes the injuries are physical and we see scars or limps. More often, the calluses become internal, patterns of behavior that we may not even be aware of. These patterns are creating our character, and our character creates our life. There's a practice in the Japanese culture called kintsugi, which originated in the 15th century. It is the art of repairing. A broken cup or bowl is repaired with gold filling or bonding. This makes the piece very valuable. It renews the piece and gives it a new lease on life. Often these pieces become more valuable than the original piece. And our injuries make us stronger. Just like the tree that calluses and makes the burl to create its character, or the bowl that is repaired with gold filling in kintsugi, our life experiences shape us. We become more as we discover more about ourselves through each life experience. Everything in nature has a season. Spring is the season we grow, like our youth. In spring, nature and our energies become strong. Nature awakens anew from the long sleep of winter. We feel ready to grow and renew. Summer is a time to fully realize our potential and grow as big as we can. We realize and experience life to its fullest. And as we fully develop, we experience and learn from life with full energies and full capacities. Autumn is when the earth and our energies begin to ebb and weaken. Our children may be grown and on their own. Our jobs may end with retirement. We begin to look at life more carefully. And so it is with the autumn of our life. This is the time we may seek answers in religion or a secular practice to help us find more light and life and meaning in our lives. We may find that we deal with more challenges. The challenges that mature people face are physical decline, changes in their outlook on life, and becoming aware of old age, sickness, and death. The Buddha taught these passages in life are normal, as the First Noble Truth teaches dukkha, or suffering, exists in this life. And there is a remedy for suffering, and that is living according to the Eightfold Path, the path of right living. By right, it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's more like being upright, like a ship with a good mast that stays upright despite the waves and storms the journey may bring. Amida Buddha makes finding our right or our inner compass easier. Saying the name Namo Amida Butsu is a devotion to the Buddha of infinite life and light. When we surrender to Amida Buddha, we touch that light. This other power does not need to come to us from any form of hard work or diligent practice. It is our own Buddha nature, the nature to become enlightened, that we can touch when we let go of our wants, the endless desires which create attachment. Shinran Shonin taught us how we can contact this Buddha nature by simply reciting the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Autumn teaches us to let go of our attachments. I'm reminded of a story of two monks and a beautiful woman. One day, a senior and junior monk were walking down a path together. They arrived at a river with a strong current. As they prepared to cross the river, they saw a young, beautiful woman in need of help to brave the water. She saw the monks and asked for help. The senior monk carried the woman on his shoulder and led her gently down on the other bank. They parted ways. Soon, the junior monk was upset. The senior monk, having noticed the discomfort on the younger monk, asked, "Is there something bothering your mind?" And the junior monk said, "As monks, we are not permitted to touch a woman. How could you have carried her across the river?" And the senior monk replied, "I left the woman hours ago at the bank. However, you still seem to be carrying her." Like the young monk, we may cling to certainty and beliefs in our life that no longer help us. Autumn teaches us to let go and to shed these things that no longer serve us. Just like the wisdom of nature allows some trees to shed their leaves to help them live through the winter. And winter follows autumn. Winter is a quiet time when nature approaches dormancy, a long sleep. Animals hibernate, birds migrate, plants die back to their roots. Winter can feel empty, dark, cold, lonely. Yet if we look closely, nature is still at work. Trees are forming winter buds for their new leaves next spring. Animals are burrowed and huddled in the cold soil and crevices in rocks and trees. Tiny insect larvae are burrowing under leaf piles. There is life even in dormancy. And as we approach the winter of our life, the challenges we now face of old age, sickness, and death are becoming inevitable. We either embrace this truth or fight to keep it away. We don't need to be old to face winter. Life may give us challenges that feel like winter. We may face a time when everything we have is lost. When we lose so much, we must start over. And who we become, what we learn in winter, becomes our greatest gift. Sangha or community can now be a source of life and light in winter. It is easy to find the Buddha and Dharma helpful in our life during other seasons, but community is most helpful when we feel lost and lonely. One of the main reasons why older people have such a hard time in their older years is we feel isolated and alone. The younger people have their own lives and energies to realize. Working people have their jobs and growing families. Often, older people can feel excluded or no longer useful. Older people need to have social ties in order to live the best life they can. Sangha offers us the opportunity to live with like-minded Dharma practitioners. Sangha offers us a community to be part of so that if we do have a problem, someone will know and someone will care for us. This kind of community is important in our winter season, and that is why we embrace coming to the temple and listening to the Dharma. A quote from Shinran Shonin tells us that, although I too am within Amida's grasp, passions obstruct my eyes and I cannot see him. Nevertheless, great compassion is untiring and illumines me always. Shinran is saying here that Amida will accept us just as we are because we are entrusting our hearts to the great compassion of Amida. Shinjin does not focus on our differences, only on our oneness. Our sanghas are called to be part of the great ocean of Shinjin, of total acceptance and embrace. We take refuge in a community that welcomes us just as we are. Nature is the great Dharma ocean. Nature can teach us, nature can heal us, and nature can reveal her secrets to us when we connect with her. Nature is a nature connection is a practice that we can do every day. The first thing to do is slow down and take some breaths. And notice what is around you. Pay attention and look at what you see with new eyes. There's a Japanese practice called Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. The essence of this practice is to go into nature and be very slow and deliberate. Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing practice, was first started in Japan in the 1980s to prevent suicide. Back then, corporate men were driven to work many long hours, and there was a decline in family and community life, which led to a rise in suicide rates. Doctors started seeing patients recovering after spending long hours in natural areas. So they actually started prescribing being out in nature as a way to help their patients recover. And now there are dedicated trails in Japan where forest bathers can go for hours or even days to unwind. When we go on a forest bathing walk, we leave behind our pressures and our worries, and most importantly, our phones. A forest bathing guide will offer you invitations to slowly walk down a trail and invite you to pay attention to your surroundings. One invitation you may hear is, as we walk down this trail, notice what is in motion. And that's all you do, is walk down the trail and notice what's in motion. Another invitation may be to walk down this trail and listen to the sounds you hear. Slowly, you begin to immerse yourself in the natural world around you. A forest bathing walk may last 2 hours or a whole day. The idea is that the longer we stay with nature, the more will be revealed to us when we join with her rhythms. Some people have gone on forest bathing walks and returned to their starting place feeling content and peaceful. A woman who recently lost her husband came to a forest bathing walk and told me that for the first time she was able to sleep since he passed after she came home from her walk. She was sure she felt his presence and noticed him on her walk. Her connection to him became strong again, and she felt once again he was with her. Her time in nature helped her to reconnect. And so we too may realize the interconnectedness of all life, seen and unseen, when we go out in nature. Nature always reveals the Dharma to us. We can learn from the Dharma best when we slow down, stop and listen, accept and appreciate nature's teachings. Today, let me encourage you to take a walk in nature. Simply let yourself walk slowly, carefully, with full awareness of the space you are walking in. Let go of any intention to get anywhere. Listen to whatever draws you in the landscape, a tree, a rock, a stream, a particular vast open vista, maybe a squirrel or a bird draws you into a conversation. Let your senses be wide open and receptive. Give little attention to your thoughts and instead keep turning to your inner and outer environment. If you begin to feel spacey or unfocused, simply center your attention back on your breath. The less you do outwardly, the more nature will open to you. Nature is always nearby and ready to welcome us back. With patience and practice, nature reveals the Dharma, and hopefully, these revelations can enrich our daily Dharma practice and bring us more gratitude, joy, and compassion. Please join me in Gasho for our final meditation. Our life is filled with warmth in sharing life with others. It is a simple truth to learn, but a difficult practice to realize. In personal life, it means to act by placing ourselves in the position of another, and in community life, it means to give service with joy and gratitude for the betterment of all. The practice of making others happy is based upon the clear understanding of life, which is oneness. In deep gratitude, let us realize this oneness of all life, the heart of which is compassion. Namo Amida Butsu.